Hello friends, so I just had a bath, it is 9 p.m. and I just felt quite compelled to film. So I have no plan, we're here, hi. I kind of just wanted to give a bit of a life update, where I am in my breakup journey, where I am in my London moving journey, and just for this to be casual. To feel like we're just friends catching up. I think because of there being so many of you watching, I often overthink this YouTube thing a lot, that perfectionism can stop me creating at all. So here we are, no plan. These are always my favourite videos on YouTube to watch because I love when people offer me their vulnerability, when they offer me up their experiences on a plate so that I may see myself mirrored in their humanness. So I hope that today your own humanness is mirrored in me and my turbulence. This is the cute little notebook that I'm currently using. It has my name on it. It's from Papier, and it's just very dreamlike and spiritual-esque, which really fits the theme of this era of my life. Yesterday I ran a creative night for friends. I'm still figuring out my social life in London, and in general have found this to be an extremely lonely city where it feels like people have so many walls up. It's also such a huge city that it requires so much planning and effort just to see friends that you already know. You know, they're like an hour and a half away and you have to drag yourself on the tube. So there's so much friction to seeing friends. And then add on that everyone has a 9 to 5, everyone has a job, everyone is working on their career. That's a huge theme of this city. It is just very hard to foster meaningful relationships in a casual way too. Like, I don't want to have to plan to see friends a month in advance, but it feels like that is what I normally do. And in my efforts to cultivate more friendship, I am trying to run the events that I would love to attend. So yesterday I ran a creative night where 5 people, all of whom did not really know each other, came to my apartment and we got pizza and had snacks, and then we each worked for an hour on some kind of creative endeavour. It can be a project, it can be something that we say we're going to do but we never make time for, and we're going to hold each other accountable through the space. And it made me realise that I keep saying I'm going to journal about my breakup, and I have not picked up a pen and my notebook for weeks. I just don't make the time. So yesterday I journaled for an hour, and I don't know if I'm going to post this, but I feel compelled to maybe share it with you. I think it captures where I am quite well. It also gives context if you don't know about my life. I think I'll have to censor some of the bits because it's a little bit personal. I have such a desire to give disclaimers like, I didn't get to read this back, I didn't get to edit it, I didn't get to make it perfect. But when I ran my creative writing club at university, we had one rule that is, before you read what you've written, you cannot qualify it. You cannot give disclaimers. You just have to read. So I'm just gonna read. Where I am in my breakup. It's been more than 2 months since I received that tarot card on the floor of a yoga retreat in Cape Town. Death and rebirth. 2 months since I dared to question my relationship to love as security, love as a needed blanket, love as a mirror of my parents. 2 months since I called him up and told him that we couldn't be together, not through any fault of his own, but a mere intuition that I could not, will not, cannot be the highest, most authentic version of myself if this relationship continues. That the universe seemingly gave me an ultimatum: to choose stability and never know who or what I could become, or to drop myself into the discomfort of the unknown and finally recognize whatever is meant for me. The first week after my breakup coincided with moving to London, packing up my worldly possessions, namely my beloved salt lamps, devil's ivy plants, and my mini library of books, and relocating them to a room in this area of London where I'm not going to say, where my hurt was to be nursed by a lawyer housemate who lived more at the office than at home, and a city of persistent rainfall, unsmiling faces, and, what I was perhaps most excited for, the gift of anonymity. Or at least partial anonymity, because you chose fame, Jade. I will never forget my first full day in London. After my parents drove away and I braved my first night in my new 4 walls, the first morning was quiet. so eerily quiet. My housemate was long gone to the office, the late winter birds didn't sing, there was no hustle and bustle of my mum before Zumba, no smoothie blender or the click of Dad's supplement tablets on the marble. There was me, just me. Me and 3 new rooms, 4 if you count the liminal space of the hallway. Ever optimistic, I began to do what I do best, pretend that everything's okay. I lit the hob and poured oats into a pan as I always do. I boiled the kettle and blew warm breath onto green tea and even set up my camera because nothing says vlog content like one's first day in a new flat. I perched on the sofa, swiveled my tripod and ate my porridge, trying to befriend the silence. I scanned the colours and ornaments of the wall. Wine glasses to remind me that I'm young, a Taylor Swift shrine to remind me that I'm cool, and more pink than the Barbie movie to remind me that I'm now a hot single woman. Single. When did that word become so difficult? My whole life I loved being single. Never once in my whole secondary school life had I craved a romantic relationship. I'd watch romantic movies and staunchly resolve that fawning over someone else was an unnecessary dependence. When my friends were printing out photos of Harry Styles and One Direction for their walls, I was crafting collages of my favourite book characters and plotting my route to fame, money, success and a dream career. My teenage self knew no romantic love. She knew adventurous impossible lists, lofty goals, travel dreams, daily affirmations, and the delightful solace of books analysing how to acquire money without effort. I never felt more sure of myself than at 16, proud of my hyper-independence and how I need lean on no one but my books, ideologies, and work ethic. The next 5 years of gap year, Minerva, falling in love, and recognising my queerness were a slow descent into the misery of learning that the richness of life comes not from self-isolation, but trusting and loving others. It was a slow opening and softening of a heart too stiff to grow attached, too fearful to fall. It was an opening to the possibility that maybe I didn't have everything figured out, that maybe A-levels don't teach you everything, and that maybe I did need people. And ever since I let that uncertainty in, it only grew. I started questioning how much joy and fulfillment that achievement actually gives me, and I started redefining what brought me joy. And meeting him was the cusp of my falling into the beautiful, chaotic, wild uncertainties of self. He held a mirror to so many parts of me and teased my rigidity into release. He made me recognise my power, recognise the value that I bring to the world, recognise how special I am, through how different we are and how our colours brought out the contrast in each other. So for the healthiest love that I've ever experienced to one day morph into newfound rigidity was utterly core-shaking. I was now in a new apartment, a new world, a new life, but everything oozed with him. The Whoop band on my wrist, the cream on my face, the way I wrapped my desk cables, the almond butter in my bowl, his favourite. The house was deafeningly silent, but my head was unbearably loud, filled with the whispers of a me that I was forcibly removing. I spent most of that first day crying, after trying to tap on my keyboard, because that's what us workaholics do to avoid our feelings. I was racked with the deepest bouts of tears that I can remember. It felt like I was thrown off a ship into a storm, the carcass of my body devoured by every tormented wave. I received a text from his mum. Was thrown under another wave. Resurfaced, gasping for air. My brother told me that he'd bumped into him crying on the street. I was dragged under again. It felt like I had forgotten the skill of being alone. I didn't know how to stop myself from being swallowed. I craved my independent 16-year-old self, hidden safely in her books, heart untouched and whole. Deep in my chest, I carried a new leech, its teeth embedded in my sense of self and sucking. It left a gap called longing, another called self-doubt, another stinging bite called regret. And as the weeks in London went on, the leech stayed tucked in the folds of my heart, dormant and waiting for triggers. I'd be walking through the streets of London, admiring how every string of clouds looked like its own self-sufficient land, When I'd pass by a wasabi, I remember his favourite order. The leech took delight in my nostalgia, canines striking at flesh. I'd fight back hot tears as I abandoned my errands and headed home to succumb to the leech's lair. Other days it felt like the leech of longing was in an endless slumber, satisfied with the contents of my heart it had gorged upon. I'd start to build routines, join a community gym, volunteer at a garden, even say yes to going to Coachella. I'd meet friends and talk about more than just the breakup, make plans and embrace London, and maybe even smile. Little did I know, this false sense of security was all in the leech's plan to bite back harder, to suck my life force from within me and scream into my veins that the only way to be rid of it was to text him, check his Instagram account, ask my brother how he was doing, regret ever daring to lose someone who cared about me so deeply. The leech would have me clawing at my notes app, drafting potential messages to send, cursing whatever illusion of intuition I'd thought justified this decision. I'd do tarot card readings in the desperation of the night. Should I send this message to him? I am asking for guidance. The card? Knight of Swords. The suit of thoughts. It depicted a frantic, crazed man in a thick protective suit of armour, striding on a spooked horse into a treacherous landscape of jagged clouds and darkness. The translation? Slow down, Jade. Stop. Breathe. Let the leech eat you. Let it suck the very blood from your veins. Let it put you to sleep. Let it cancel your plans, but do not let it send you back to a heaviness that you know does not serve you. And so that is what I am doing. I have learned to live with my leech of longing, my leech of what if. It survives off my anxiety, and it thrives in my darkest imaginations, and eats at my sense of self-doubt. But it does not drive my actions. It sits, guarding my heart with the loyalty of a rebel to its martyr. And my life goes on. When the leech is asleep, I learn to love London and myself again. I learned to find newfound solace in the ever-present silence and aloneness that seems to be the theme of my life in this city. I learned to find who I am again. At 16 and happily independent, at 22 and happily dependent, and now as a 24-year-old, trying to be happily both. I know deep down that the leech is just a fear born in me from a heteronormative world where women need men. And people in relationships are happier than people who are single. And when is framed as the necessary ideal for my own life. Every bite is simply a reminder of the world's expectations. But I will keep biting back with the expectations that I am setting. I am still in my death phase. But as the tarot card said, I will eventually enter rebirth. And maybe the leech can be reborn too. So that's a bit of how I've been. Writing is so cathartic for me. Writing is everything. Words are everything. I need to do this more. I need to write more. As I was writing in this session yesterday, like finding this metaphor of a leech has given me so much clarity in how the post-breakup feelings are for me. Like it literally feels like this thing inside of me that strikes at moments where I'm not expecting it, that just feels like it's sucking all my energy and life force, and it is overwhelming, but somehow feels better when I just accept that it's there and try to love that newfound part of me. If you've been watching any of my recent vlogs, you would know that I feel quite called to explore spirituality, or my relationship to the concept of spirituality, in this season of my life. I feel like this is a time I have to lean into softness, slowness, feminine energy, and any attempts that I make to do what I do normally, which is like build things, hustle, learn, grow, out of comfort zone, all of that, like those things, like almost like masculine traits, Doesn't work out. I can't force it. Like, it literally, everything that I thought I wanted, I just don't have the capacity for it. It doesn't work. Guys, I was literally offered my dream job, what would have been a dream job for such a long time, and I knew my gut that this was just not the time to say yes to this opportunity. I just shouldn't. So it's a period of a lot of learning, a lot of redefining. One of the most important books for me in this time has been Anam, Cara by John O'Donoghue. He is a late Celtic philosopher. His writing, his books, every podcast that he's done focuses on Celtic spirituality and focuses on old Irish folklore and the relationship of Irish spirituality to ourselves, the concept of the soul, nature, how we are all part of nature, connection to others, how humans are so mirrored in one another. But the way that he formulates thoughts is just so rich and beautiful. I could literally live in his words forever. It's been very healing. I've been listening to his interviews, I've been reading that book, absolutely loved it. As you can tell from my writing and themes of the last few videos, I have also started like reading tarot cards, which I never thought this would be me. I literally never thought it'd be me. Like, I had a friend at university who would do readings and it was always so fun. It was like guilty pleasure, but I was always too scared to do it for myself because that would mean owning up to the idea that I could be a spiritual person, which to me was something I could never admit that, because I was a logic, rationale driven science and maths girl. And it turns out those things can coexist. You can be logical, you can be evidence-based, but you can also have faith in things that perhaps don't have rigorous scientific evidence. And to me, tarot cards are such an important tool for reflection. That is all they are. Like, I mean, you can see them as like, you know, being informed by spirits or being informed by the universe, but more than anything, whatever you get given, your reaction to that card is so revealing if you let it be. You know, say you come with a question like, what shall I do in my career? Like, you, in your head, you know, you're feeling quite unfulfilled in your job, and you complete a deck based on that question. However you react to those cards is telling you a lot about how you feel about your job and what you should do and what you know deep down that you should do. And so I find it just such healing validation for self-knowledge. I've also been doing readings for friends, which has been exciting and cool. I did one from my brother, I did one from one of my best friends, and it's been cool to see how helpful it's been to them. I'm still very much, you know, beginner. I love this one book. This book is the source of my readings because it's how to give a positive reading in any situation. So no matter what card you get, even ones that look dark, like death or the Tower, it's all about reframing them as, you know, new starts or the death of something that is not serving you. Also, this is so random, but the other day I received a delivery and it had no name on the address. It had like it didn't even say like my address. It didn't even say like address to Jade Bowler, and it didn't say who it's from. It was just a box, and inside was this book, The Artist's Way. And I checked Amazon, I checked like maybe my mum, you know, accidentally bought this and brought it to my house, but there's no trace of where this book has come from. A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity book. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I think it's like a 6-week course on one's artistic endeavors, and I just think it's so strange and fitting that I was given this book by someone, something, somehow. Like, if it was for neighbours, I would give it to them, but there's no address. So I'm gonna be reading this soon. Oh, also I went to Coachella recently, which I never saw myself going to Coachella, truly. When I thought of Coachella, I thought of influencers who are a very, very different vibe to me. Just going there and taking their pics and looking really cool, and I'm not a fashion girly, so that was, you know, I don't know how I'd look like them. But I decided to say yes because, Jade, you need a weekend prioritizing your joy, and you need to just feel free and happy, and what a cool opportunity, like, for a brand to want to send me to go and listen to some wonderful artists in the middle of the desert in California. And it was genuinely such an amazing trip. I feel so, so grateful to have gone. I don't like buying fast fashion where I can help it, so I was really stressed trying to find Coachella appropriate outfits quickly, but I used a combination of like what I already own. I rented some things from this amazing site called Her. Recommend if you don't want to buy fast fashion but you want like cool items for a short time. And I borrowed some of my friends' clothes and I think I looked cool. Like I felt so confident and radiant at Coachella, and I was in the follicular phase of my menstrual cycle, which is the week just after your period, where all your hormones are making you feel confident and badass and cool. So I was feeling amazing. I saw Chapel Roan and The Last Dinner Party and Sabrina Carpenter and Renee Rapp and Lana Del Rey and just so many amazing people. It was such an amazing time. But honestly, after Coachella, the post-Coachella blues were the worst thing ever, because for whatever reason, all my post-breakup sadness came back with like the worst intensity. Hi guys, okay, so I just got back from Coachella and I just feel so lonely. I feel like the total emotional extreme to what I felt this weekend. I don't know what to do with myself. Both the girls that I went with went home to their partners, and one of them, like her boyfriend, literally created this little welcome home party for her with like balloons and little cakes. It was just so wholesome and sweet. I don't experience jealousy often, but today I think I feel very jealous. I just feel very lonely. Just come back to this empty house and I'm just like deep in the thoughts of missing my ex and regretting these, even though I don't regret it. I know I don't regret it. In these moments I just feel so alone. It's just horrible. It's horrible. Being an adult is horrible. You have to like pick yourself up. Like I have to do the laundry, I have to go do the groceries, otherwise I'm not gonna eat, and if I don't eat I'll feel worse. I really just want to be cared for, and that feels like almost embarrassing to want. Like my dream would be to just lie in my head on someone's lap and for someone to just like stroke my head and just make me feel like everything's okay, and like I don't need to be hyper independent. I will care for myself because I love myself. These are the moments that we learn to know ourselves better. It's so hard, it's so hard. And I just miss him. I miss him so much. I miss so many things about him. I feel such a huge hole in my life. Yeah. Breakups are hard. Breakups are so hard. It's such a fluctuating process. Sometimes you feel like you're fine. You feel like you're over it. You feel like you could maybe even have them back in your life. And then the next day you'll feel a massive hole and want to cry all day again. So it's hard. I'm trying to be kind to myself and I'm trying to embrace the wisdom that I know comes from this era. This is really my era of finding peace within. So yeah, that is a little bit of an update from me. If you've been following me on this journey, I'm so grateful for you. I can't tell you how much your messages have made me feel seen. It literally gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. Like the vulnerability that so many of you have shared in messages, comments, making the comment section feel like the most supportive place in the world. Like, it means so much, and I love you all. And if you are struggling with anything, please trust the process. It's so hard, but you're doing so well and you are learning so much that you can't even see yet. One day you will look back at this time and be like, wow, that was so formative. I was so strong. Keep listening to your intuition, keep showing up in the world as your authentic self, and I'm sending you so much love and hugs from afar. If you got to this point, leave me, what kind of emoji should you leave me? Can you leave me a gem? This is my favourite crystal. I love it so much. Doesn't that just bring you joy? Doesn't it just feel like good energy is just, it's just flowing from this crystal? God, I'm really in my spiritual era. But yeah, drop me a little crystal and I will do my best to reply to you. Bye!